Good evening, President Kendrick, Mayor Harp, First Selectman Frida, esteemed faculty, guests, families and friends, and you, graduates of the class of 2016. Thank you for the privilege to speak to you today at the commencement of this extraordinary school in our community. It is truly a resource to us all. I'd like to start with a little known fact about me. I love words. I love language. As a kid growing up in the South Bronx, my mom kept me indoors when I wasn't in school to keep me safe from what she saw as dangers lurking. So I read a lot, and one of the books that I really enjoyed reading was the dictionary. We had this 2-volume dictionary that came with the Encyclopedia Britannica, which had like 32 books in it. I'm sure nobody has ever seen an encyclopedia like that in this class. But I would just devour the dictionary. Yes, I know you're thinking, what kind of childhood did she have? But seriously, there's a point to this story. Gateway Community College is aptly named. I looked it up and found all these synonyms for the word gateway. Entry, opening, access, opportunity, chance, first step. Each one of you waiting to receive your degree today went through a gateway when you were enrolled at this school. Hopefully you found plenty of access, opportunity, and openings during your time here. And now that you are graduating, you are going through the gateway again, this time moving onward in search of new access, new opportunity, and new openings. But let me acknowledge that there may be more than a few of you here feeling nervous and anxious about what the future holds. New beginnings are not easy, and you have good reason to feel uneasy. I graduated from college in 1981, and you should know that I was a first-generation college graduate in my family. The person before me who graduated from college was my cousin Yvette, and she graduated from Bronx Community College, and she's been a nurse for 45 years. The world that you're transitioning into is both better and harder than the worlds I stepped into after I graduated. So I'd like to share some observations with you about this transition and 3 major lessons I've learned from my own experience. I hope that each of you can walk away with one nugget that you'll carry with you, and I promise to do it in no more than 10 to 12 minutes. I'll start with a news story I heard recently. During the war in Sarajevo, a young woman named Indara, just 17 years old at the time, was seriously injured when the home she shared with her parents was bombed. Because there were few medical supplies available, she endured the agony of surgery without anesthesia. And she survived. In a recent news interview, she spoke about how everyone in her community pulled together to help her and her family. And in a whispering tone of voice, she admitted that she missed those times because we cared more about each other then. Now everyone is looking out for themselves. Today we are more connected to our devices and less connected to each other. So here's my first life lesson. Relationships are the connective tissue of life. Whether at work, home, or community, relationships matter. Talking with one another, making eye contact, asking probing questions, checking in, caring for one another, it all matters hugely to a full and joyous life. Which, by the way, is what education is supposed to help us achieve. The world of healthcare reform that I work in depends heavily on community organizing. Organizing helps us reach everyday people to understand their issues and to help them take actions to improve how healthcare serves them. The first question a good community organizer asks is, what's your story? Tell me the story of you. Unless we understand how other people think and feel, and how we're all connected to each other, we're only concerned about our own needs. We can't find our way towards solutions to some of the thorniest social and business problems if we're only looking in the mirror. As you walk through the gateway today, I hope you'll stay connected to some of the people you've shared this experience with. You will find over time that some will remain friends. Some of my deepest relationships are with people I first met in college. Some may be among your best champions in your work life too. And connect with people at every other gateway you go through. Remember that relationships are the connective tissue of life. So life lesson number 2. Remember, I only have 3, so I'm nearing the end. Life lesson number 2 is don't close doors that haven't yet opened. These are my husband's words of wisdom. You just don't know what opportunities await. Many of us don't like change, and sometimes resistance to change makes us say no before we learn more and fully understand our options and choices. Sometimes fear of failure holds us back from taking risks and making a choice that we hadn't imagined before. And sometimes even those we love hold us back. I'm going to tell you a little story about how I got my master's degree. When I graduated from college, some of my classmates were going on to get their master's right away. Not me, though. I felt I needed to work and get some experience before I could go back to school. My college years were hard for me. It took me a long time to adapt to the academic rigor and to build confidence in my own abilities. Anyway, 11 years passed after graduation, and I had been working in the field of philanthropy, a great field where I got to influence funding decisions to address important community issues. I started feeling restless, though. I felt like I needed to work at a deeper level of change. I kept asking myself, what difference am I making? So many of the problems we were addressing, so many of those problems, poverty, lack of education and jobs, poor health, all of these have some roots in the policies made by public officials. I felt like government wasn't holding up its end of the bargain. And I started feeling that foundations needed to do more to influence government. This is when I started thinking about getting a master's degree. Then one day, I was at a national conference, and I met a woman, a fellow Latina, who had just graduated from the Kennedy School of Government at Harvard. Her energy was infectious. She was working at a foundation in New York at that point. She strongly encouraged me to consider the Kennedy School. She said something like, the K School is looking for people just like you, Francis. So I took a look and got excited about the possibility. But then I felt discouraged. Why? Because it was a full-time program and required that I live in Cambridge, Massachusetts. I was married, I had 2 kids under 12, a well-paying job, and a house in West Haven. Going away to school seemed totally impossible to me. That's when my husband John said, don't close doors that haven't yet opened. Apply, take the GRE exam, see if you get in, and if you do, we'll cross that bridge when we get to it. 2 years later, John and the kids moved me into a little apartment in Cambridge, and Mom started her Kennedy School experience. It was all a leap of faith. I remember laying in bed that first night. What have I done? What am I doing here? At least one of you in this class took a leap of faith and decided to get a degree to get you to the next stage of your work and personal life. Maybe you had a good job, but didn't feel inspired by it. Maybe you got laid off or divorced and got pushed into it before you were even ready. Maybe you came back from Iraq or Afghanistan to find your way again. Maybe you planned to get your basic courses out of the way more economically at community college and then pursue your bachelor's at a four-year school. When we feel that we have to make the jump or we're going to explode or the rug is pulled out from under us, boy, does our adrenaline pump. Boy, do we lose sleep at night. Many of you might be losing sleep right now about what's next. After the sheer panic subsides, though, and we get our bearings again, then we look at ourselves in the mirror and say, I have to do this. I'm telling you, change can be our friend. First of all, it is a constant. Nothing remains the same, so embrace it. I heard someone say, if you can't bring yourself to embrace change, then just give it a hug every once in a while. I wouldn't be doing the work I'm doing today if I hadn't given change a little hug, more like a bear hug, really. Okay, my last observation. When I was writing this speech, I said 3 life lessons. This is the last one. When I was writing this speech, I asked for a little data about you, the graduating class. I learned some interesting facts about you. One of them is that the majority of you are getting your degrees in 4 groups of fields: allied health and nursing, business and technology, liberal arts and science, and social sciences. I know that many of you have a lot of work experience and may even have worked full-time during your time at Gateway. That said, I know some of you are going to continue your studies and some are entering or staying in the work world. There is a lot of talk in the media today about the jobless recovery and the stagnant job market. It isn't the first time in history that we have a bad economy, and it won't be the last. It's not great in some respects, but I don't buy the doom and gloom. There are plenty of good jobs out there, and there are plenty of opportunities to create jobs that don't even yet exist. So life lesson number 3, give yourself permission to dream about what you want for yourself, your family, and your community. It may not be crystal clear, but start where you can. Create a vision of what your life would look and feel like if you achieve your dreams. Tell others about your desires, hopes, and plans. Ask them to help you make your plans and to connect you to others who can help you achieve them. There is not an area of life in this country, in this state, in this city, that doesn't need radically fresh thinking. Sell yourself as the person with fresh ideas, determination, and drive. Eventually, the circles do connect. I have found this to be profoundly true in my own life. I'm continually surprised by how circles connect. When I finished the Kennedy School, I told myself, if I don't find the job I want, I'm going to create the one I do. When I finished, I went on to start a consulting practice. I named it New Paradigms Consulting, so I could work with foundations, nonprofits, and government in ways that could make a difference for people. I went around to people I knew and I asked for work, and I often got it. Before I knew it, 10 years went by. Then one day a client asked me to join his foundation to work on changing public policy to ensure that everyone in Connecticut could have access to quality and affordable health care. I wasn't sure because healthcare was not my big focus. But he showed confidence in me, so why shouldn't I show confidence in myself? I said yes, and for the last 12 years, I've had the privilege of making a difference on one of the most significant civil rights issues of the 21st century. So the circles do connect, my friends, I assure you. Transitions are both scary and full of possibility. Go ahead, go through that gateway, and the next one, and the next, and the one after that. Remember, relationships are the connective tissue of life. This is the most important lesson. Change is your friend. Change is your friend. Give it a bear hug. Don't close doors that haven't yet opened. Prepare yourself so you can seize that opportunity or create your own. Keep striving to make a difference for yourself, your family, your community. Congratulations, class of 2016.